Beware of well-intentioned career advice. It can kill you. So, a big question I get all the time is, so Anish, I have been hustling for new opportunities. I have a new offer on the table, but it's not a clear-cut thing. I'm trying to evaluate, I'm trying to weigh the pros and the cons, and I'm just not really sure whether to make the move or not. Crucial moment in your life as well as your career. And in this video, I am going to show you a concrete, dead simple way that you can really get some clarity in the situation and really maximize the chances of making the right decision. But to do that, number one, you gotta know what the pitfalls are. Let me give you a little example. I was recently working with a client of mine who's just an absolutely brilliant computer engineer, high-tech wizard. You can tell probably by my language that I know how to brand them and promote them, but I don't know the nuts and bolts as they do, of course. Anyway, he had spent many years getting masters, then a PhD, and then really working on incubators and cool ideas in an academic setting. And he had just reached this point where he's looking at me and saying, Anish, I've always felt that I could be an entrepreneur. I've always felt that my calling was something else. But I don't know. I was given different advice from family and trusted members to say, you know what? Go to school. School is safe. School is a place, and academia is a place where you can be experimental and not fall on your face and not have the risk. And yet, talking to him and going through some of the amazing stuff that he's done, he's got a laundry list of patents and things now. He's clearly an innovator, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. What came to mind is the fact that this guy could easily run a business. In fact, he should have probably lit off for Silicon Valley a decade ago. By this point, he would be a billionaire, easy in terms of what he has done and the innovation that he has, because he had also the perspective to run a company. He doesn't get freaked out by risk. He can handle situations of opacity where you don't always know what the next thing is. So he had all of these drivers. So why did he choose to go down this route? Well, as it turns out during our conversations, he had a trusted uncle who he always looked up to. And when the time came, he went to him and he said, Uncle, here's my situation. What do you recommend? And he obviously recommended going down this whole route. And even though they're different people, his respect for the uncle kind of colored that, colored his own intuition, colored his own decision making, and led him down this path where I'm not saying he lost 10 years of his life, but you look back and you say, he probably could have made way more progress and achieved his goals of making an impact through technology, changing people's lives through technology. He could have done that on a much faster, larger scale had he chosen another route and not to go down this. So that's pitfall number one, okay? And before I give you any advice, I really want to impress this. Everyone is going to have some kind of an opinion on your career. Everyone is going to say, do this, don't do this, ask this question, don't ask this question, rock the boat, don't rock the boat. It's going to fall all across the spectrum. So first of all, don't start asking advice from just someone you respect, okay? Respect does not mean synchronicity, and it does not mean understanding with what your goals are. If you ask someone for advice, make sure that number one, okay, make sure that they are more successful than you are. Otherwise, discount the opinion. And number two, assuming they're more successful than you are, make sure that they have your mindset and your general personality. They don't have to be doing what you're doing, but they need to be the same type of person. Otherwise, the difference is going to be so huge and the priorities are going to be so huge that it's not going to make any sense. Having said that, do not start asking people for advice until you've done the following, okay? Here's where people make mistakes. I've got a situation, right? I've just gotten an offer. What people will do is they might go so far as to write down a pros and cons list, and of course you should do that. You definitely should never just use your gut when making a huge choice like this. But they'll write down the pros, they'll write down the cons, right? Maybe they'll write down the pros and cons of the new offer, the pros and cons of the last one, and do a comparison. That's good, but here's where people will make the issue happen. See, for some people, quality of life, right? Work-life balance, that's as important as salary for them. They hold that at the highest level. For other people, or maybe for people who are starting out, for them, the work-life balance, that's negotiable. They're willing to hustle 80, 90-hour, weeks if it means that the income's right. So for them, the work-life balance has less of a priority. And what a pros and cons list doesn't do is it doesn't allow you to prioritize and ascribe a different level of worth to all of these things. And if you're not doing that, then it's very, very hard to look at a list of 20 odd things and say, I'm not really sure. You could have the quality of life box checked in one and it's still checked in the other, but what's the difference between the two, right? So here's how you can make a smarter decision. And I'm going to include a link where you can actually get this. I call it a career decision scorecard, but it's a way for you to more effectively compare two offers or two situations and then really make a great decision. So here's how it works. Let me just show this to you really, really quickly. All right, there it is. So basically, you have your current job, you've got the new job, and here you're going to write down all of the things that are critical here. All of the factors that would go into making that decision, right? Everything from salary, perks, quality of life, commute, whatever's important for you. Don't make any judgments. Just write them down here. And now you're going to ascribe a number, 1 through 5, for each of those things, right? You're going to go through the list, ascribe a number, and that's going to ascribe a level of importance. And then at the end, you're going to get a total score here. Now you're going to do the exact same thing for the new offer, right? Same criteria, same number system, score. And now you're going to compare the scores. And the better score is the one that you should take. And the reason this works is because not only are you being very comprehensive, and you should be, about listing each and every possible factor in this decision for you, what you're also doing is, by using a numerical system, you are ascribing a various level of worth to each and every one of those. And so the number that you get at the end and the number that you get at the end takes your personal preferences into account. If salary is less important than some other factor, then that's in there. And if salary is less important than another factor in the other one, that's in there. And now that you can look at that and you can say, okay, so in my job, I'm getting this level of satisfaction in this area. In this job, I'm getting less here, but more here. Now, when you look at the numerical system, it makes a lot more sense. And that final number is something that is a lot closer to giving you that clarity in terms of do this, don't do that. So I'm going to have a link to this. I suggest that you save it and you use it every time you reach one of these kind of forks in the road, because being really systematic and thorough with judging both the hard factors in an offer as well as the quote-unquote soft factors, that's what's going to give you real clarity in terms of whether this is the right move to do or not. Make no mistake, making the right choice in your career can utterly change things. It can mean the difference between reaching your goal a decade earlier than you would, if not longer. And it can mean gigantic amounts of money, not to mention freedom and more pleasure and fulfillment along the way. So you really need to do your homework about this. And I personally strongly believe that you should do something like this and come to your conclusion before you ask a select number of people for their input. Not saying don't do it, but get real clear about where you're leaning towards before you do that. And then you can just filter their answers, filter their feedback through that. You know, and your heart and your intuition knows what that next thing is going to be better than anyone, better than me, better than anyone out there. You know your heart, you know your instincts, you know your capabilities. This is a way to put it on paper. Thank you guys so much for learning with me. It's been a pleasure as always. I just love to hear from you guys. Love your comments, love your feedback, love your messages to me on LinkedIn, and love your stories. And I just love the hustle. Keep expecting more from yourself. Keep thumbing the nose to people who say that you deserve less or that you should just settle or you have a good thing going and why try. Try jump, leap, and prove all of them wrong. Thank you guys so much. I will talk to you soon.